Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Today we will be discussing Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 5, text 17. Tadbuddhayas tadatmanas tannishthas tatparayanaha gachanti apunaravrittim gnana nirdhuta kalmashaha. So, Krishna explained in the previous verse that when we become enlightened by gnana, gnanena tu tadagnanam yesham nashitam atmanaha. Agnanam nashitam. Our nations or ignorance becomes destroyed. Tesham adityavat gnanam prakashayati tatparam. And that gnanam is like a sun which lightens everything. Prakashayati. It reveals everything. And now this verse says that by dint of that revelation, by dint of that knowledge, what will happen? That person, what he does, what is a sign that he has that revelation of knowledge? That's what this verse says. Tad buddhayaha, tadatmanaha, tannishtaha, tatparayanaha. That person, he reposes his intelligence. Tad buddhayaha, tadatmanaha, his mind, nishtaha, faith and refuge. They're all fixed in the Supreme. So Prabhupada translated it as, when once So Prabhupada translated it as, when one's intelligence, mind, faith and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. So when one gets the knowledge, the sign of that knowledge is our intelligence, mind, faith and refuge should all be fixed in the Supreme. And then gnana nirdhuta kalmashaha. All our contaminations, kalmashaha, misgivings, becomes nirdhuta, cleansed by that knowledge. And thus we proceed straight on the path of liberation. Gachanti apunaravrittim. Punaha avrittim means to come back again. Apunaha avrittim means not to come back again. That means the place, the spiritual world will go from where there is no coming back. So, Prabhupada explains this word tat, tat buddhayaha, tat atmanaha, tannishtaha, tat parayanaha. That word tat is used. So, one of the words that is used to describe the Supreme Absolute Truth is tat. Om tat sat. Prabhupada also writes in his Bhagavatam introduction and many other things. And it is also explained in 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Om Tat Sat referred to the Supreme Lord. So Tat Buddhayaha means reposing our intelligence on Tat, that Supreme. Tadatmanaha, our mind on Supreme, like that. And Prabhupada explains that in the purport, how that Tat is the Supreme Lord. He explains that the Supreme Transcendental Truth is Lord Kṛṣṇa. The whole Bhagavad Gita centers around the declaration of Kṛṣṇa as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is a version of all Vedic literature. Paratattva means the Supreme Reality, who is understood by knowers of the Supreme as Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the last word in the Absolute. There is nothing more than that. The Lord says, Mattaha parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya. Impersonal Brahman is also supported by Kṛṣṇa. Brahmano pratisthaham. Therefore, in all ways, Krishna is the supreme reality. So, Krishna is the supreme reality. That is why that word Tat refers to Krishna. One who reposes his intelligence, faith, mind on Krishna. That's what it refers to. And those who are not, one may think we have this great intelligence, people of this material world, the society is progressing. Not everybody is devotee. In fact, most of them are not reposing their intelligence on Krishna. They are being intelligent about many material things and even achieving big, big things, going to the space even. So there was this doctor, or he's not the medical doctor, but by name he was doctor by his education. So Dr. Benford, he came to visit Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was explaining that how the real intelligence is to come to Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, we are using our intelligence in the four things: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. How intelligently you are eating, how intelligently you are mating, how intelligently you are defending, the animal also does. So this doctor, Dr. Benford, he had a question. He said, Swamiji, what do you think about the moon mission? So Prabhupada, he said, that is also sleeping. You have sent so much money to go there and sleep, that's all. Otherwise, what can you do there? Dr. Benford, you can go there and learn. Srila Prabhupada, no, you go there and sleep, that's all. Sleeping, you are spending billions and getting nothing in return. Doctor, it's worth more than that. Srila Prabhupada, no, nothing more. Because these four principles, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, are the background. If you have no knowledge beyond this body, you cannot go beyond this bodily jurisdiction. You may have very gorgeous, polished bodily knowledge, but your whole range of activities is within these four principles of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. This knowledge is prevalent among the lower animals also. They know how to eat, how to sleep, how to have sexual intercourse, and how to defend. And then the doctor is saying, oh, but they don't know anything about nuclear physics. Srila Prabhupada, that does not mean that you are improved over the animals. It is the same thing, only polished. You are improving from the bullock cart to the car, that's all. Simply a transformation of material knowledge. The dog may sleep on the ground and you may sleep in a very nice apartment. But when you sleep, your enjoyment and the dog's enjoyment are the same. And then the doctor is saying, what about the joy of discovering how nature works? For example, now we think we have understood matter. He points to the grass, how it works. We think we know from experiments and analysis that it is made up of particles that we cannot see. We know it is made of molecules and so on and so forth. And Prabhupada is saying, what is the benefit? Even if you knew every particle of this grass, what would be the benefit? The grass is growing. It will grow with or without your knowledge. What is the use of it? And then Prabhupada continued to explain that if you could understand God who created the grass and understand Him, automatically you will understand everything. You will understand grass. You will understand the purpose of everything, why it is growing, what is behind it, what is the purpose of everything. But if you want to separate his grass from him, study it separately. In this way, you can study anything and everything and keep on studying, compiling volumes and volumes on the subject, and without even coming to the purpose and understanding why it is there. So why you should waste your intelligence in this way? And Prabhupada gave him a beautiful example. The branch of a tree is beautiful as long as it is attached to the main trunk. But as soon as you cut it off, it will dry up. So what is the use of studying this dried up branch? It's a powerful analogy, isn't it? Say the branch is falling up, it's separately from the tree. And you may study it. But what is the use of studying a dried up branch? It has its value when it is connected. When you see it in connection with the tree, you may come to a different conclusion altogether when you study a dried up branch. You may not understand what is the source of it, what is its existence for, what is produced out of it, how you should nourish it, how you should bring it back to life. None of that you will know. So Prabhupada called it as waste of intelligence, because the result of that kind of intelligence or knowledge is not useful. Usefulness is to know yourself properly, who you are. Because when you understand what you are, then you understand truly what you are, then you understand other things. Atma Tattvam, this is called Atma Tattvam. Gruheshu Gruhamedhinam. Apasyatam Atma Tattvam, Gruheshu Gruhamedhinam. So people around the world, they have so many topics to discuss. Some may be really busy using their intelligence. But as long as they don't inquire about their Atma Tattvam, who they are, what is the purpose of their existence, what is the purpose of their life, it is parabhavaha, it is defeat. There is no point. So that is what our intelligence has to be used for. Adhato Brahma Jignasa. And the beauty about Krishna consciousness is that one who is engaged in devotional service to Krishna, even though one may not be by nature very intelligent, Krishna gives that intelligence. There was this Alvar, the famous Alvar. He was born as Vishnu Chitta. He was a devout Vaishnava, and he performed his service to the Lord by creating a garden with various flowers and offering garlands to the deity at the Vatapatra Shai temple. So that's all he was doing. Simple service. Offering flowers and offering garlands to the deity. And at the temple, he found the infant Sri Andal. And he gained a unique distinction as the father-in-law of Sri Ranganath after his daughter Andal married the Lord. And this Vishnu Chitta, even though he was not well versed in scriptures, he was guided by the Lord to speak in a royal contest. There was a royal contest conducted, and by some arrangement he was supposed to talk, or he ended up talking, even though he was not very intelligent, very scholarly. But he was guided by the Lord to speak in that contest, and he declared, he was able to get to that conclusion that Lord Krishna is the supreme absolute truth. And that impressed the king and the scholars. They were spellbound. How this man is able to present like this? And then they honored him with the title Bhattar Piran. I mean, it probably means the life of the Lord. So he was later honored with a royal parade. And out of his devotion, because Krishna was his son-in-law, he was even blessing Krishna and he was praising with his beautiful prayers on Krishna. So the prayers, it's called Tirupallandu. I don't know if I'm pronouncing correct. It's in Tamil. They continue to be recited in Vaishnava shrines as a prayer for eternal devotion to the Lord. So you see how the Lord can empower everyone, anyone and everyone, to become greatly intelligent, provided tat buddhayaha, our intelligence is reposed on understanding Krishna. Our mind is reposed on thinking about Krishna. So sometimes people, they try to complicate the message of Bhagavad Gita. They try to derive different kinds of meanings. Whereas Krishna, at the climax, he reveals the most confidential knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, which is to only think about Krishna always. Very simple. It's not complicated. You don't have to be a scholar. You don't have to be a highly materially intelligent person. All you need is to have faith on the words of Krishna. Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Mame vaishyasi satyam te pratijane priyosi me. So the real intelligence, the real conclusion is if you can always think of Krishna. Uddhava, who is supposed to be the most intelligent and learned devotee, and the Lord himself was taking his suggestions every time there was an intelligent conflict, what decision needs to be made. The Lord would approach Uddhava and Uddhava would give his verdict. Oh, this is how you should do it. He was very intelligent. And one time the Lord sent Uddhava to carry his message to the gopis in Vrindavan. And the moment Uddhava went, the gopis so eagerly came because the Lord sent him and heard the whereabouts of the Lord, the news about the Lord. And then Uddhava looked at them and saw their pitiable condition, how they were always thinking about Krishna and crying in separation of Krishna. And they could not, even for once, could not think about Krishna. And he was just spellbound by their devotion, by their attachment to Krishna. And he said, these gopis, they are simple cowherd girls, cowherd women, and they are not very knowledgeable. They don't study scriptures. They don't engage in cultivating knowledge. They're not very intelligent from that perspective, but they are considered to be the topmost of all living entities because they're always thinking of Krishna. And so Uddhava, he composed a prayer because he knew that if he asks the dust of their lotus feet to bless him also with the same devotion that they had, they wouldn't give him because they would think Uddhava is a great personality. How can we give? They would become so embarrassed. So he said, the way to take their dust of their lotus feet is by becoming a creeper or grass in the land of Vrindavan, so that when the gopis walk, they trample on that and the dust of their lotus feet falls on that. So that way he can take the dust on his head. So he was saying, Asamaho charanarenu jushamaham syam Vrindavane kimapi gulma lataushadhinam Yadustyajam swajanamarya patham chahitva Bhejur mukunda padavim shrutibhir vimrugyam. So let me become a creeper or a grass, a blade of grass in Vrindavan. so that I can get the dust of their lotus feet. Because the gopis, they're always only thinking about Krishna, and they have given up all. Ya dustyajam swajanam aryapatham chahitva. That which is very difficult to give up. That that bondage of this material world, material relations, and even they didn't care about their reputation as chaste and obedient wives or daughters or sisters, and they went to serve Krishna against all such considerations. They are like completely transcendental to all material conceptions. Their only whole and soul goal was to give pleasure to Krishna. So, this is the verdict of Uddhava, who is the most intelligent. So, Prabhupada mentions that one whose mind, faith, and refuge are always in Krishna, or in other words, one who is fully in Krishna consciousness, is undoubtedly washed clean of all misgivings and is in perfect knowledge in everything concerning transcendence. So, this is what cleanses us. Only Krishna can cleanse. We may clean our material body, but internally, within our mind, within our intelligence, that polluted consciousness, how can it be cleansed? The ills of this world are being caused because people have polluted consciousness, polluted intelligence, polluted mind. We are seeing every day horrible things are happening in this world. Why? Because of unclean hearts. And how do you clean the heart? It is said here. Gnana nirdhuta kalmashaha. When tad buddhayaha tadatmanaha tannishtaha tatparayanaha gachanti apunaravrittim gnana nirdhuta kalmashaha. And when you become cleansed, then you can go back to Godhead. Gachanti apunaravrittim. Prabhupada wrote one letter to his disciples. They were grihasthas, husband and wife. It's a beautiful letter. He said, you live blissfully and peacefully as husband and wife. And if you go on chanting 16 rounds daily, Krishna, who is within our hearts, will direct you further as to the best way to advance more and more in progressive Krishna consciousness. We must never forget that this present life is temporary and may end at any moment. So the purpose of our existence should be to become fully Krishna conscious and go back to home, back to Godhead. At the end of this present lifetime, I'll be glad to hear of your further progress. So you see, in other words, that you can live peacefully and blissfully even in this material world with your family, with your relations, but you have to keep Krishna in the center. Chant Hare Krishna mantra. If you can chant 16 rounds, come up to that stage. That's the best thing. And Krishna will direct you further. And Prabhupada also is writing another letter. He said, Krishna is giving you all good facilities for spreading Krishna consciousness. And I can assure you that He will supply even more. You are a boy of great energy, and the more you use your energy in Krishna's service, the more He will supply you, rest assured. So it is up to you how much you want to endeavor for Krishna's sake. So in other words, materially there is a limit to our energy. But spiritually there is no limit, because if you serve Krishna with more energy, great energy, See what Prabhupada says, the more you use your energy in Krishna's service, the more he will supply you. In the material world, it's not like that. The more you use your energy, you are drained. That supply is lost. But Krishna consciousness, see the beauty. He'll supply you more. So it is up to us how much we want to endeavor for Krishna's sake. With whatever we have. Whether it is intelligence, pranair ardhair dhiya vacha, shreya acharanam sada. It is said that we should engage with our prana, our life, ardha, our wealth, our words, dhiya, intelligence, and vacha, words. I'll stop here. Anyone has any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Sadar Pranam. Our glories to Srila Prabhupada. Please accept the humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji, again for the nectar. And today my question is, in this verse it is said that whoever is intelligent, then they take refuge in Supreme, and then they will get the liberation. And so like that, even in Devi Purana, when I'm saying similar things, people are getting back and saying, well, Devi Purana says something to take refuge in Devi, and Shiva Puran says to Shiv. So like that, you are reading this book, so that's why you are saying Krishna. So because in each one this is glorifying their own deity, so how do we know for sure?
See, the Puranas, a very good question. Thank you for that. The Puranas are of different categories. The Puranas are divided into three modes. Puranas in mode of ignorance, Puranas in mode of passion, and Puranas in mode of goodness. So we should follow the Puranas in mode of goodness, because the Puranas meant for those who mode of passion and ignorance, they come up in a way that can appeal to them, so that they can worship such personalities. For example, Shiva, out of his kindness, he lives in crematorium and all such places, so that he can appeal to such kind of people, those who are in those modes, lower modes. He can relate with them and they can relate with him, and they can start to follow him and worship him. The idea is gradually they will at least be attached to somebody of their nature. If they want material desires, let them be attached to Devi. If they are of this nature, let them be attached to Shiva or some other personality, so that at least they are bound by scriptures, and gradually by their association they can be cleansed, and gradually come to the mode of goodness, and then they can accept Vishnu as the supreme. So that is the reason why these different Puranas are given for different sets of people, and gradually they should progress, and then they will come to the point of accepting the Purana in mode of goodness.
But they are saying in Devi Bhagavad Purana, it is said that the supreme goddess actually created a Vishnu and Shiva too.
Yeah, as I said,
but they are saying it is Devi Bhagavata, and it is not Purana. Maybe I don't know the difference between that, but that's what they are quoting me.
Maybe there is, I don't know, I have not studied that, I don't know where it is, but it is not in one of the Puranas in mode of goodness, and none of our acharyas in disciplic succession have given commentary on that. So I would rather stick with the bona fide acharyas commentaries than which is not coming from disciplic succession. But we should just understand that it is not part of mode of Purana in Sattva-guna. So it's meant for those in lower modes, and to suit their beliefs and understandings, certain statements are made. So that much we should understand.
Okay, Prabhuji, that helps. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai, Srila Prabhupada.